Hello, hello. How are you? Yeah. My name is Jaan Aru. I'm an associate professor here in the institute, and I'm really happy to see you all here. And this is a data science seminar. This is an event we have from time to time, and today we will focus on education. And perhaps you have noticed that we have now made some developments in artificial intelligence, and we talk about big data. And I guess all of you kind of know that big data and AI will change education. But the question is, how? Which way will it change? Or how should it change education? And I guess that there's no one single correct answer to this. And today, we will see several different viewpoints. All the speakers, in some sense, they have different viewpoints on it. So I hope we will have some debates. In fact, I would encourage some debates. And the plan is that each speaker has roughly 20 minutes, and then we have some time for discussion. And you can also ask questions. Please simply don't ask too simple questions, right? Let's try to have some debates. And then, as you might have seen already, we have snacks and other stuff for you. So we won't be here, fortunately, for 2 hours simply talking, but rather we will do 3 speakers. Then we will have a break for networking. So have fun, eat, drink something. Then we will be back, hopefully all will be back. We will have another session, and then there will be wine, right? After the second session, not after the first session. Okay, so that's important to notice. Yes, and already at this point, I would like to say big thanks to all the speakers. I'm super happy that you actually accepted the invitation, and I'm very happy also and very thankful for all of you who are here. So yeah, let's get started. The first talk is going to be given by two people, Margus Püüa and Peep Küngas. And some of you might know them because Margus Püüa has been one of the, how do we say, masterminds behind the e-governance. E-governance. I also need some warm up, right? And he has been affiliated with different ministries, for example, the Ministry of Education and Research. And Peep Küngas, as he said, he actually worked here in the Institute of Computer Science, and he said that he's very happy to be back, and currently he is an data architect at the Ministry of Education and Research. So thank you for being here, guys. The floor is all yours. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Margus, as Jaan said, and I'm very happy to be here and sharing our experience on the way that we started in 2018 to develop the personalized learning infrastructure. As a board member of Information Technology Foundation for Education, I invited Personalized Learning Path Infrastructure initiative with Peep Küngas and with Heiti Pakk. And Peep is, if you said, is a data scientist and data architecture on our team. And Peep will talk today about the value of data, which characterized real learning activities. Peep looks at the personalized learning process through the data perspective, But our third guy, we started this journey, Heiti, a former principal of Rocca al Mare School and psychologist by profession, looked at the personalization learning through the cultivation of self-learning abilities. Because the main idea, our approach is we like to move from the teaching paradigm to the learning paradigms, and using the data and gives a clear picture how it's look like when we have a lot of the data about the, from the learner side. I think that the teachers' strike on this week directly points to the problem what we want to solve with the smart use of technology. The main problem is how we use the time that is constrained, if we all know, in the learning and teaching process. I like to stress out the two policies or strategies that need to be addressed in the light of today's technology capabilities, including artificial intelligence. And first of them is subject and class-based standardized teaching arrangement. If we know in school, based on the curriculum, there are 45 minutes subject-based lesson for about 25 students. When we're thinking about this, it's obvious that 45 minutes is not enough that the teacher attention to be focused on everyone and everything. Second policy, what I think we have to discuss about is so-called one-way or one-direction education. There is lack of flexibility of design learning paths according to students' needs and change demand on the market. Also, education policies aim to offer learner the opportunity to move across the different types of education. In practice, if we know this is quite difficult to implement. And why? Because we don't have a clear picture of the students' knowledge, skills, and abilities at given moment in time to allow movement between the direction, different curriculum, or the change some profile of learning. Hence, the idea of using data characterizing actual learning steps in detail to increase ability to self-learning and to enable multidirectional adaptive teaching and learning between and across levels and types of education. For conclusions, the main idea what we engage to the personalized learning infrastructure, I can say that strategy could be formulated as the following. The data describing learning in details is securely available to all stakeholders. This means that data is open to use by researchers and private companies as well. It is also appropriate to notice that we need corresponding legal acts where fixed what requirements must be followed by harvesting data that characterize reality and how we can use this data as open data. I like to say that in Ministry Research and Education, we take the initiative to write that kind draft of legal acts because I think that the existing legal system where we describe data sets nowadays, the means of data why we harvesting and collect it during the learning process, totally different meanings. And I know that Ministry of Economic Affairs and Communication is also planning to develop a data law. And I think it's quite important things that we have some ramification or structure how we can collect the data and how we can use that to improve learning and teaching processes. What is the data? What kind of data we are talking about? This is a small picture about this, and main idea of this picture is that you can see how to connect it three types of the data. Green one is data what describe several level curriculums and syllabus. Blue one, there is data describes learning objects, and red one is quite important when talking the footprint of learning processes. So these two types of data, what in this side written, there are traditional data what we collect during the learning process. There are the grades and assessment from teacher side or results of tests and exams. Third part, this is describe the data about what the own reflection on the learner and the assessment on his or her own work. And this nowadays the source of self-reflection data is we collect through surveys, but these surveys, if no done relatively rarely. And now Peep, my colleague, will be talk about this data which we call the log of every learning acts, whatever happened in the classroom or in the computer when we're using the e-materials. And so our hypothesis is that if we harvest as much as possible all the data related to learning activities and analyze them, then the resulting pattern should also be able to tell something about learning at the learner level as well. And now, Peep, please, floor is yours. Thank you.
So, thank you, Margus. So, Margus mentioned learning management strategy. This is actually part of a larger strategy, which is called National Education Strategy. And one of the main aims there is to enable personal learning paths throughout the entire life cycle for each individual person. So this is an ambitious goal. It has been actually in different... It has been in strategies for years before as well, but it's different this time is that now with the advent of AI and other non-conventional technologies, we have finally the means to implement that strategy, to reach that end as well. But in order to do it cost effectively, we do need another strategy, which applies to digital systems where we are actually performing our everyday learning and teaching activities. The digital strategy, which allows to do it cost effectively, defines that educational services, they will have digital touchpoints where you can actually measure interactions with learners and other stakeholders, and they also are semantically annotated to have some background data about learning and teaching activities. So individually, what it will enable eventually is that each activity which is recorded, it could be associated with learning activities and could be analyzed in the context of larger, let's say, learning or life cycle. And, but in order to implement that strategy cost effectively, there is actually need for a platform as well. And one of the challenges is that the security, and another one is the privacy, which needs to be tackled. So, and the background is following. So if we are going to apply a digital strategy where easy or many interactions with learners and teachers are actually recorded, then it's important that data is handled securely and the privacy of people is handled as well. And that's the core reason why we decided to initiate the Learning Path Infrastructure project with Margus. But just to understand how we use that data, which will be collected in different touch points of educational, let's say, learning activities, I think it's important to understand how metadata about learning subjects is kind of related in that context. So what we envision is that the learning activities and learning outcomes, they are interlinked to each other in such a way that it's easy to spot dependencies between different outcomes or activities. So for instance, in school, I'm going to present the example in chemistry. So it's hard to learn certain subjects or aspects in chemistry if you lack something in mathematics. And that is a reason why actually a lot of chemistry teachers are spending some time each year for teaching mathematics as well, such that they will fill in the gaps. So if you would make the relations between different learning outcomes explicit, then that knowledge about dependencies of different learning paths and different learning subjects or learning outcomes, that is something that we can already use automatically and use actually to analyze learning activities as well. And just to give an example, elaborate further the example in mathematics and chemistry. So here is a part of a fragment which describes interactions between learning outcomes in chemistry and mathematics. So what you can see here is that the red spot here. It's a learning outcome for representing in chemistry what is called it's a skill for, let's say, determining oxidation state of individual elements based on a formula. So in order to actually master that learning outcome, you need to actually be able to explain the formation of ions. You need to be able to distinguish between pure elements and chemical compounds. You need to even know negative integers, which is coming from mathematics. And you need to know Roman numbers and plenty of other learning outcomes. And if something is missing there, it's pretty hard actually to comprehend that particular learning outcome as well. So that's one of the challenges what we are facing is building up the linked knowledge graph, which explains relations between different learning outcomes. And if you have that background metadata, and then let's say if you're going to collect individual actions as well, so for instance, in the current graph, what you can think of is that it represents learning activities starting from early morning. You start with some physical exercises, and then you move further, you read something from a newspaper, you still learn something by doing it. Then you go to a school maybe, or let's say to university. You do something in that room, and then you do something, let's say, with your friends. So each of those elements, if you're able to annotate them with relations to the learning or educational aspects, if you manage to collect them, then you're you're able to understand which fragments of that large graph a learner already has went through or mastered in a way. And knowledge about, let's say, those learning paths, it also helps you to build better models to drive learning or to give feedback. So for instance, if you consider that the sequence of activities, you could annotate it, and you could align and cluster them, then based on that, you can build new models which will estimate maybe potentially in real time, how well do you know 1 + 1 in mathematics, which is a trivial example, but let's say at university, there is maybe some more, let's say, elaborated, definitely more elaborated learning outcomes that you can measure. So that opens up completely new opportunities. So you will not tag students anymore based on how well they did in mathematics and chemistry 15 years ago and take it as a baseline when you're designing new activities. You're able to measure what is what the student or the pupil understands at the current moment. And of course, let's say we are living in dynamic world. Some of learning outcomes, you're going to, well, they will be lost if they are not needed. But sometimes if they are needed, let's say from other learning outcomes, then it makes sense to actually refresh yourself in those particular aspects. So, but in order to build such kind of capability, we need your help as well in university. So what we need is actually that in universities, the learning material, what is created, it could be actually traced and recorded as well. Those learning interactions, what are happening. So we are not building the infrastructure only for, let's say, middle school or high school, but we are building it for entire life, and university is an important part of it. Also, what we would love to see from university is that there are more services, or let's say learning objects, which share the learning path data with the infrastructure as well, and you can analyze it later in your research as well, actually. And that brings us to a third point, is that I think it would be great if eventually the platform where we are collecting the data could be used for research purposes as well, to develop new methods, new models, maybe validate some new hypotheses, and why not build up some longitudinal studies where you need data, let's say, across decades on top of that infrastructure. So thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Any questions? Oh, right here.
Thank you. Very good information. I have one question. Who in your vision is actually the one who is setting the learning objectives? Because currently the education system kind of like sets it for every student, but like how do you particularly?
But that's not true. I mean,
what do you mean?
You think that, let's say, if you're going to a school, then of course you are let's say, learning in narrow settings. But I mean, you are learning in other environments and settings as well. I mean, if you're visiting your grandma, and you're picking up some potatoes from a field, I mean, you're learning something, right?
I mean, you learn every day, right?
Pretty much. You're going to forest, I mean, you're going to hiking, you're spending some quality time with your friend. There are some educational objectives everywhere, and some of those, large majority of them, you're setting by yourself. But you're right, let's say, the time you're spending at school...
Because it's still like almost like 8 hours, like every day when you're a young person, right?
It could be, yeah.
Okay, but is it still the school and the education system?
But that comes down to, I think Jaan has better suggestions in that direction. So we wouldn't limit from that perspective. So infrastructure, what we are building is, we want to leave it agnostic to specific methodologies. So obviously the children should be in very good hands. So there is no doubt about it. And at certain age, they need more guidance, let's say for setting objectives. But I think the more older they are getting, the more capable they are becoming for setting.
Exactly, and that's the point. Like at some moment in time, like I'm going to maybe go into the debate. I can save it for later as well. But like just like to pick your brain, right? Like there is actually statistics that many kids actually want to, for example, become astronauts, for example.
Absolutely.
And but like many, like I don't know, I was one of them. So like I was told that like no, you can't become an astronaut. There's no like science, like there's no astronaut space in Estonia. So like it's kind of cut, right? But like actually like if I would have been like wanted to become an astronaut, I should have studied mathematics, like chemistry, like biology and so on, how I can grow my food and so on. And like that would actually really enable the personalized learning path, right? Do you see like any room for that kind of future as well?
So one of our use cases we prototyped last year actually was related to setting personal objectives. And I mean, I think one of the goals a young person could have could be very easily that I want to become an astronaut. And it would be great if you could actually bind your learning activities and all around that objective, right? It's going to change at a certain moment of time. But I mean, for a certain moment, that could be the context where you're operating, and let's say based on that, maybe it's easier to study certain new things as well.
Okay, I have a lot of thoughts about this topic, but I'm going to save the floors for others as well, so thank you.
Thanks.
And thanks for opening up with the first question, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, is it on? Yes. I mean, it feels everything so linear in your presentation, and it's not necessarily a critique. Everything will be super determined, there will be many boxes, and this will be personalization. I might be biased, but I see this as a major threat. I mean, everything seems to be so linear.
But may I argue? It's not true, actually. I mean, you start with hypothesis.
Tell me that I'm wrong, because I wouldn't like to live in a world like that.
So our past is linear anyway. So the path we have went through, it's linear. I think it's hard by our current understanding to debate on that. But the future doesn't need to be.
The future is not.
And I agree with that. Yeah. So, but what I was showing, it was more like, let's say, our past. So, but let's say planning the future, this is something that Thomas...
We don't plan the future. We don't plan the future. I mean, it seems to me that we're projecting the past onto the future, creating boxes for our students to fill. And on top of this, instead of being teacher-centered, it's going to be like this machine-centered thing where everything is predetermined by the past, by our models, by inferences based on past data. Tell me that I'm wrong. That's it. I would be very happy to be wrong.
Yeah, I would say you are partially wrong, partially right. So you're wrong from a perspective that, let's say, I don't buy that the past should determine our future. I mean, some actions we have made, they definitely determine some aspects there. But let's say, I think Jaak here and many other working in data science, they can actually argue that you need to understand the past in order to maybe predict something in the future as well. Oh, it's part. Well, I mean, you use data to record something, so it does. Yeah.
I'm very happy, guys, that you have these debates already. Super, that's good.
But the bottom line is, let's say, the critique what I have, let's say, heard a lot, and people are really fear that, let's say, of a situation where machine will determine your future. So this is not what we are building infrastructure for. We are actually building infrastructure such that people will have a better life. You have, let's say, we wouldn't be constrained so much about, let's say, past actions, maybe, as you were afraid. Let's see.
Okay, hello. Margus said that there are some changes in legislation that are needed to bring this in life, what you had a vision of. What are the changes that we need? Like, do we need a law that states that the Ministry of Education can do AI models, or do we need a law that states that the Ministry of Education is not prevented to do AI, or do we need some laws about educational data, or what do we need?
Margus, you want to elaborate?
Thank you. The main idea is that we like to describe the so-called data lake, what it is and what is legal means about. Because today we have some legal acts for the databases, but if I said we collect the totally different type of the data, for example, the EHIS contains grades, etc. But we like to build up some data lake where we collect all the possible data what related to is certain learning steps. And if Peep said, we do it very securely, but in our legislation, we don't have that kind of subject or object, because we started to define what is collected data, what is a model, and we have some draft about these data acts. And if I said we cooperation with Ministry of Economic Affairs and Communication, because we have to describe something and agree in the community that we collect that type data and we can do use as open data. That's quite important, because if we collect some data and putting the under the lock, it's nothing to do with this.
I just wanted to step into the second question. So it's not only about linear path and data tells which grade you will get by the end of university. Get the grade, off you go. We don't want any of that. And I think the first question exactly said that there is objective, learning objective. So you want to find some ways to get to that objective, be it become astronaut or medical doctor. And then you have to optimize for that. But it's not only linear. I don't agree in that sense.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm super happy that we still have some hands up, but it's also good to be more or less on time. So let's thank Margus and Peep again. And we have some presents also for you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Yes, so we can move on. The next presentation is given by Professor Kairit Tammets. She comes from Tallinn University. She's the Professor of Technology Enhanced Learning. Yeah, and she will tell us what they have done over the past decade in Tallinn University, right?
Yes.
Well, tell us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm coming from Tallinn University School of Digital Technologies, and I work in the Center for Educational Technology. And I think my presentation is now nice follow-up what Margus and Peep were telling, and gives quite a lot of food for you now, Emanuele. So pay attention, and we can continue the discussion. But first, what about the group where I'm coming from? So we have been, we are quite old, so it's now about 27 years when the group was established. And when I try to think that what is the main thing that we are doing, then I would say that it's basically research on design and implementation of technology-enhanced teaching and learning practices, tools, and methodologies. I need to now a little bit emphasize that we have, in addition to all the researchers, we have also our own software development team, because what we are doing in the research, we are also developing ourselves. And my story is quite a lot built on that today, that we are this kind of group who is at the same time designing, prototyping, testing in a real-life settings. And that's why for us it's really important to have the close collaboration with end users, but also then policymakers. Our earlier research, and when I say it now, then I would say that about like 5 years ago, that was one of the really, really huge projects that we had together with the ministry. When we designed digital learning resources for Estonian schools, it was a massive project. And we understood that actually there could be lifelong learning strategy, there could be millions, and we are developing some nice learning technologies and content and so on, but it will not give us solutions. The fact that we have nice learning technologies, whatever they will be, they will not, let's say, they're not solutions for the problems that we sometimes think that we have, especially sometimes teachers are saying that I want to use some new apps. Do you have some new apps? Because I think my students are a little bored, or vice versa. There could be another type of issues that there's too much technology, and that's why some of the things are now a little bit bad. And that's why in our group we are looking at the tools and the practices in a synergy. So it's not one thing or the another thing. So what do we do then? And we are calling it ourselves more like human-centered learning analytics. My background myself is in educational science, and I'm really careful to use AI, and I'm really proud to say that our field is learning analytics. And more specifically than human-centered one, which means that we are giving this really important role for the teachers when we are designing these tools and practices. We are doing it through iterative design process. And for us, whatever we are doing, this keeping in mind that what are the pedagogical questions and what are the challenges are always the central. So this is now the technology part of it. When we started, I'm now trying this highlighting. Oh, yes. So when we started, this is the digital learning resources from, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. Just a simple H5P object, which was designed by a teacher. And then we moved on. We understood that it's not enough, so it works. Students can use it. Estonian and secondary education students were using it, but it's not enough. We need to move on. And then we started to design more complicated tasks, and now we are already in that phase, which means that what we have done, that this infrastructure behind the same task, oh my God, this is so complicated. Oh my God. It is much more metadata enriched now. So of course we had the opportunity to send those XAP statements already 5 years ago, but this data was meaningless because it didn't have any context. We didn't understand what is it now saying that the student was clicking something for 5 minutes or something like that. We didn't understand the context. And that's why now what we have done is that we can, oh my God, I can't see myself, how can you see? That we are giving a certain, that there is a level of difficulty, there is some strategies, tagged rehearsal, there is a learning outcomes related and so on and so on. So now the data is much more enriched for us. The pedagogical side of it, because when we first designed the same tasks, these tasks, then the only thing that we did was that it was supposed to be connected with the national curriculum. But what we are now doing is that we have been mapping all of the tasks with more concretely with the learning outcomes. We have skill bits, we have know bits, we know how the tasks are related to each other. The tasks are now with a different level of complexity, which means that in order to achieve certain learning outcome, we have to design a lot of tasks. A little bit simple ones, medium ones, more complicated ones. Drill and practice, more real-life based and so on. Otherwise, it doesn't work for the students. Because in the end, what we want is that we are using these learning technologies, in this case, digital learning resources, to develop students' problem-solving skills and usage of effective learning strategies. But for that, we need pedagogical design elements to be mapped with the data that we are collecting. So you see that we have been doing it now over the years, improving the pedagogical concepts, pedagogical principles, design elements, and the properties of our tools. So what does it mean then when the pedagogy and data meet? So first, we are developing domain models. Oh, help, please. Thank you. That we need this domain model, which is a little bit related to what you had. I have it just a little bit simplified version of it. This is one learning outcome. And this is now divided into, let's say, sub units. I think it's called algebrailiste murdude liitmine lahutamine, however it is in English. And this can be done only by someone who knows how you should teach the mathematics. I can't do it. Our developers can't do it. Those who are designing pedagogical scenarios, how to use learning technologies effectively, they also can't do it because that needs didactical and methodological knowledge in what sequence I should teach so that they would really get where they are supposed to get. So it means that our didactical team members are creating domain models. Then the next level is to create now those same digital learning resources tasks that I just showed you before. Each of these tasks is now related with these kind of skill bits and know bits. And then classroom situation is happening, and the teacher can see how did the students progress. No, this is simple. How many mistakes, what kind of responses there were. Let's say this traffic light logic. Red means that something didn't go right. Yellow means that more or less. And blue one that these students progressed well. For me, coming from the field of learning analytics, this is a bit of boring already. I'm more interested in why some students were struggling. And I don't want to know it. And of course, I also want to know, but I want a teacher to know it. And that's why we are developing feedback loops for the teachers, that some of the students are more in struggle with the more complicated tasks. What could it mean? Does it mean that they don't have some needed strategies to solve this concrete, let's say, procedure? Does it mean that they might lack the prior knowledge? Does it mean that whatever was happening, even the technology might have not working, or it was a bad day? Of course, this is not what we are getting from the data. But these kind of things, that perhaps there is a lack of skills, or perhaps lack of prior knowledge, or something like this. This is something that we can already now a little bit better understand, but we want also the teachers to understand. Now the final step that we have been a little bit trying to do is that what could it potentially happen if those students who are progressing like this will continue and we don't intervene. And we, by we, I mean now the teacher. If you know that you have some students who are struggling, perhaps now it's time to do something. Otherwise, it might be that some of your students will not get to the more complicated tasks. Perhaps you should try out some new strategies, make sure that the domain knowledge is there, and so on and so on. Now this is the question of linearity. So in our understanding, basically, this is like the learning situation. So the students are coming to the class, all of them with their own prior knowledge, with their own individual characteristics, and they should now reach the learning outcomes, which could be a bit of adjusted or differentiated for the different students. And how they are getting there, this is all different. Some of them are going directly, some of them are doing some cycles, and some of them, they might not get there. But this is now the process based on what I was just explaining you, what we can scaffold and we can monitor. And now this is the same technologies, these H5P things, and basically this is now linear. I know, Emanuele, but don't look it like this. So it's like just getting somewhere, but there are some cycles. But basically we can already in the beginning to make sure that students have understood the task. So it means that we have to design already into the trajectory, we are calling it, to make sure that they understand the task. We are activating the prior knowledge, and based on that, we can already perhaps adjust the trajectory. We can give them some hints and explanation, what kind of strategies they want to use. Maybe this is not the most reasonable way, you can try this and that. We can design the learning strategies into the task. You could try this and you can try that. And this is something that only these people know who are teaching the mathematics. In our case, at the moment, it's the mathematics case. And we can also later make sure if they can a little bit reflect, what did I now learn? Or if I now understand what was this new thing or old thing that was supposed to be acquired. But is it enough? Is it enough that we have these kinds of technologies that are somehow, let's say, pedagogically well designed? No, the teacher is the key. And this is where my heart aches, because I have seen that we can do all these nice things and we can give them and we can talk about it. But in the end, it's a teacher who is doing the class and the way teacher is instructing how to use technologies or how to use materials. Quite often, even if there are some sort of nice functionalities designed or nice affordances, but if a teacher don't know about it or don't understand it, then it's not reflected in the practice. And I think this is quite nicely aligned also with Margus' project, that learning technologies are still often used to replace existing practices. So what we have been doing is that we have designed teacher professional development as a context for us as a research. So we are calling it, for the teachers, we are saying that it's a teacher training. They are getting credits and coffee and all of that, but for us, it's the setting where we are trying to actually change their practices. And we have learned that teacher needs really time to understand why you have done the things that you have done. What is now this pedagogical goal of it? Need to try it out, adjust it, pilot it, come back and say, it didn't work, it was so bad. I didn't understand, students were confused, and then I can reflect it and try it again and try it again. And they also need all feedback loops themselves, either from the technology, from the mentors, from the peers. And we as a wider group, who are responsible for giving these new tools for the teachers, we also need to understand and monitor and do some research. What are they really doing with it? And what is the effect now on the students or teacher practice? So this is basically our teacher professional learning intervention. So we have a setting where we are meeting at the university, where the focus is now on, let's say, co-creating new pedagogical practices together. We are giving some, like the materials you saw, they can adjust them, they can make some improvements there, and then they are putting into their own concrete lesson, class context, and let's say design some lesson plan. And then they are going to the school and try it out, and we are giving them some feedback loops, and they can see perhaps what was going on. Also these narratives that why some of the things perhaps didn't work or what could be done. And then we are meeting again. And that could work, like for us, it's about 9 months. It's quite resource demanding because with these teachers, we work together in tandem. So we have someone from the background with educational technology, like me. Then we have didactics, because this person only can speak about how the teaching happens. And then we have educational psychologist who is telling how the learning is happening and how now this knowledge will be combined together. And what effort we have been done now in our team is that the training and the tool that the teachers are using, they are speaking the same pedagogical language. If the focus is now on the students' problem-solving skills, then this is what the training is about, then this is what the didactic is talking about, what educational psychologist is talking about, and what the tool is talking about. So this is the thing that we are combining together. And some results. This is now related to some of the PhD work in our group. So these feedback loops that are integrating this language, the teachers understand. It could be now this problem solving, but also we have the context of students' collaborative learning. Then teachers feel that they are not only informed, I know now what was happening in the classroom, but they are more able to make informed decisions, or let's say we are calling it actionability, that I'm making now some actions because I understand a bit better what's going on and why it's like this. The teachers who were part of this kind of intervention, they reported that they developed, let's say, the didactical abilities and also subject matter knowledge, that they now understood better what is effective problem solving in mathematics. And you see that the tool is just behind it. So we want them to develop more like methodologically. And the teachers who reported that they were engaged in collaborative and situated learning activities, because not all of them, of course, did it. And they shared experiences and they shared their learning designs, discussed. So they were the key predictors of their intention to adopt these practices and tools also later. So at the crossroads then. In our group, what we really want to put everywhere in the center is that the pedagogical questions drive this innovation in the field of learning analytics. And whatever we have still those situations that we are getting some new PhD students and so on, and then they're saying that I want to develop something new now. So then we are going back to the pedagogical questions and challenges. And these should be then validated with the teachers. And the other thing is that the teachers' views on teaching and learning, that shapes quite a lot of this adoption of data-informed practices. And that's why we need to work with the teachers in the end if we want that all of this that you also described would really shine. And what also I would like to say is that we need to work together. So I don't only mean that interdisciplinary knowledge, didactical, educational technology, data science, and teacher training, and so on, but also policymakers, developers, EdTech sector, practice, university, and so on. So only then we are contributing together to this responsible and adaptive technology-enhanced learning environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kairit. Questions? Okay, good.
Thank you, Kairit. Very interesting presentation, and I'm very happy that you emphasize this importance of collaboration of different partners on this. But I have two ideas in my mind. One is related to my background in studying biology, and it's the question about evolution. How evolution of the learning process is ensured in this process where you predefine all those activities or different pathways, even if they are not linear. And the other one is that you mentioned that teacher is the key. And if the teachers are striking, or we have shortage of teachers, do we not learn anymore?
Yes.
Or how we can actually bring the learner to the center of the process and enable collaboration between the learners, maybe self-regulated learners, if I may, and then ensure learning instead of the quality of the teachers sometimes.
Yeah, all this, now that everything is, let's say, predefined, and so I think that what I wanted to say with my presentation is that it's not about the question that what else is there. But my worry is that if you are developing AI tools, or let's say these data-informed tools, we need to keep it together with how the principles of learning, and that was something that I wanted to say, that data and learning go hand in hand. But of course, I understand that it now sounds a bit like everything is predetermined and that's all that's happening. But no. I would say that this is just a bit of like out of scope of my today's presentation. What I wanted to say is that it's important to map pedagogical concepts and data collection. Otherwise, we are not helping anyone. But I completely agree with you that that learning is much broader. It's all these informal learning settings, learning outside of technology, classroom situation, and all of that. So I completely agree with that. About the teacher shortage, yeah, well, I'm not now even sure how to put that the question that should we put focus on the student self-regulated learning and giving them the agency? Yes, of course. But again, that's not the scope of this talk, and we have tomorrow morning one call together, and then we can continue this discussion, that call. But today, just I wanted to highlight this mapping of data and concepts. But of course, that's the key, that we should work with the student self-regulated learning. And that is why we have put into the design of the tasks as well that we are giving them the opportunity to make some choices and develop certain strategies and making the decisions that I need to now move on more quickly and all of that. But it just didn't fit all to this presentation today.
Thank you. I have I'm sort of naive in the pedagogical sense, but I have two questions. One is, you kind of alluded that there is didactics, the best approach to teach something, but we know that students give feedbacks that this is the best teacher, this is the worst teacher. Sort of like for somebody it's okay, this didactics, and for somebody totally something different has to be there. So you did not kind of say that there are actually different means to achieve the same goal. How do you comment on that first?
Well,
that there is no single didactically correct way to teach.
No, but what I meant was that to design these learning technologies where we are collecting data, we need didactical competence next to it. That is the thing, that how you should teach now.
But is there only one way to teach? That is my question.
No, yeah, of course, but now the connection, that in what order you should now introduce what concepts and how you are moving from more the level of complexity and so on. These are certain pedagogical principles.
And the second part of my question is that when we talk about the high school, the lower grades, it's very standardized knowledge that they kind of have to know. We have this accumulated over the centuries, what they have to learn somehow in some disciplines. But moving towards the higher education and research intensive courses later, we cannot create the similar learning, I don't know, objects for every new scientific knowledge. So when does this learning change in nature from this very standardized? You have to know this and this type of fraction, and that's how you get to that knowledge, versus later where it's more about new ideas, new developments. When does it change really in this spectrum?
I think it's not this way that it will change when you are going now to higher education, because I know that in some of the fields, also in higher education, we are trying out the similar logic. So it depends probably on the domain, it depends probably on the courses even. So I think that it's related to what should be now learned. And the domain model is still something that is behind. Just the level of detailness perhaps will change a bit. Because if I'm now thinking that I'm teaching at the university learning analytics for the teacher education, then I also have, let's say, some sort of model behind it, what they should know, when they should know it. So this is still, but it's not that detailed as with these algebralised murud in this level of detailness, so it's different.
Again, it's great we have questions, so the last one, I hope it's not too long.
Two questions, actually.
Oh, you get one.
Okay,
Other will come during the break.
I'll merge them. Okay, yeah, thank you. Quick question. So, big emphasis was on the prior knowledge, right? So the question is, are we actually at the beginning checking the prior knowledge? So, for example, it could be the case that the prior knowledge already covers 60% of what needs to be taught, right? So we actually speed up the learning, right? So to cut down the time, right? So that, again, that person can concentrate on other tasks, right? And in the same fashion, then those people that will struggle, right? That's where the teachers then come in, right? To see where and how they can improve the curriculum, right? With the end goal, I presume, right? To reduce the reliance on the teacher to the absolute minimum to make the algo the best it could be.
Yeah, so the question is...
So the question is like, first
just answer yes. That's a very perfect answer.
Do we test at the beginning the prior knowledge, the depth of it, and is the end goal to reduce the reliance on the human element as a human?
No. The end goal is that we are designing the learning environment so that it would support the learning, and that's why the teacher needs to better understand what's going on with the students. And some of the students might be a bit more struggling because of that they don't have enough prior knowledge or they are more advanced. And then teacher can make more, let's say, adaptations in the classroom. But for me, that's not a question that we are somehow decreasing the human element, but we are, let's say, it's a complementarity between the human and the technology. In some of the situation, technology just helps to notice perhaps the things that the teacher can't notice so quickly.
Thank you. That was amazing. Thank you very much, Kairit.
Thank you. Okay.
So yes, we have talked about linearity, and organizing this event also hasn't been quite linear, because Monday morning Laur Läänemets told me that he broke his leg. So I wanted to have this third speaker first, someone from the startup industry, but now I had to switch up. And fortunately, then we found another speaker, let's say, and we have been now over the two first talks. The first talk was the most optimistic one. The second talk was perhaps less optimistic, perhaps more realistic. And the third talk will, let's say, fit this line of argument. The third talk will be given by Kristjan-Julius Laak. He's here from this institute. So he will ask this question of whether AI, artificial intelligence, will actually help us to achieve the goal of modern education or not. Floor is yours, Julius.
Thank you. So hello, my name is Julius, and I indeed was invited 2 days ago, and I'm happy to be here. The first talk ended with the debates, and I'm happy to come back to this debate now with more fuel. And I'm also happy for Kairit for filling in the details in her group for the work that the ministry is doing. It's very, very important to support their work. So I'm gonna ask today, I'm gonna talk about AI in education. Wait, okay, these are the old slides, but no worries. What has been discussed already today is basically the main topic, the kind of learning where the AI creates a learning path. And in general, when you use ChatGPT and ask what is AI in education, then it gives you those answers. And the first thing you see there is personalized learning. And what has been talked today has been personalized learning in the most general way. And the other points that the language model outputs are also part of personalized learning. And it seems great, like if you start as not an expert in this domain as I did, then it seems that personalized learning is really a great thing. And as ChatGPT is the mirror of the current knowledge, then it doesn't also give you much arguments against that. And what is personalized learning? So it's basically trying to be a juxtaposition or a remedy or alternative to the one-size-fits-all traditional classroom where students learn standardized subject knowledge as a function of age and in the same class, you know. And it all started, not all, like way before, but this was one of the main igniters, or let's say something many educational technologists refer to, the so-called 2 sigma problem, done by Benjamin Bloom in '84, so 40 years ago, yeah. He basically, with his team, made an experiment where half of the students were learning in a traditional classroom with a group of students and a teacher, and then the other half were studying with a personal tutor. So each student had their own tutor. And what they basically showed that those tutoring students got like 2 standard deviations better scores than the group level instructions. So they concluded that, semi-concluded that all the students have like more potential than is reached in the standard classroom, and they called it Two Sigma problem, that it's too costly to have this personal tutor for everyone on a large scale. So a large part of this personalized learning, or the main idea basically, is to provide each student a personal tutor and to do it with AI. And very generally, if we define it, then personalized learning systems are systems that allow each student to have their personal pace and approach based on their own needs. And this ultimately requires technology and AI. Quick comment here is that what are those needs is I haven't understood from the literature of AI in education. Hard to see how they are met, but that's the definition, and it's a really nice definition. So if we visualize it, basically instead of this traditional way of being in the 5th grade, you have your own path, which is your own learning path predicted by the AI or supported. And yeah, it gets you to your goal. And as we saw in the first presentation, this kind of personal assistant who helps you on your personal path is built in Estonia. It's called Margus, and we have a nice logo on the presenter's hoodie as well. And it seems really great because those systems are 500% better than traditional classroom. So we call them adaptive learning systems, personalized learning systems, and they're really great. They are really good at learning subject knowledge. So we should all use it, right? Here's another example that when you learn some math thing, then each student has, for each like knowledge, they have different speed of learning, and they progress basically in their own pace. So it all looks really great, but then we should start asking, as Kairit also mentioned, that everything should start from a goal, and we should ask what is the goal of education. And in some sense, when you start to look at it, then it's a really efficient system of the same traditional education, the same subject-based knowledge. And why is that? Is that we need to ask what is the goal of modern education, and here I have to start from the beginning. So I listed here some of the components of the modern education, which in my opinion and by many important documents are also at the heart. So first of all is focus on general competencies. These are the kind of skills that are more than knowledge. They are something sustainable and very humane, like complex problem solving skills, critical thinking, digital skills, AI literacy, social skills, collaboration, etc. So also Estonian national curriculum is based on general competencies, not anymore on the like big picture, not anymore on the subject knowledge. Second is big goal of modern education is learning skills. So everything related to self-regulated learning, as Kairit also mentioned, they try to improve this with their technology. Monitoring, reflecting on your learning, and the student having agency, and also reflection on their own learning and thinking. We call it metacognition. Then active learning, and active learning is basically what I would say is personalized learning, and personalized in the sense that the student, it's him or herself, is activated cognitively in the brain during learning, and that's how the learning happens. And it could be initiated by, for example, project-based learning. And last, it's like cooperative and social, so children learn from each other and together. Yeah, so we come back to this personalized learning, and we, in reflecting to the modern goals, I would say that this is not modern education, but just more efficient traditional education. But I would still, like, I have my slides a bit mixed, but I would say here it's a very important part of education. We need to have a bit of that part. Here are students learning on their own. It's not a personalized learning system, but they're basically doing something in the iPad. And this reflects really well kind of what is personalized learning. And in large part, it is individualized learning with a digital device. So I would say that it's very useful technology, but it has some major limitations. For example, one huge limitation is that children just cannot be so much behind the screens. For example, second grader maybe can be half an hour per day in the iPad or their device, and maybe the ninth grade can be not 2 hours, but it's definitely not something we can put students for the whole day. And basically, no teacher would let their student to be whole day in a device. And the kids apparently don't want this neither. They get quite bored over time because their brain is wired a bit differently. And also, we don't know how screen time actually, what is the kind of effect on mental health and stress and so forth. It is important to have those devices and those systems that give like a limited but important part of knowledge acquisition. And for that, we need really good learning materials, digital assignments, also learning games, and but also, as Kairit said, help teachers to use those technologies, guidelines for teachers, how to use it, like what is the effective pedagogy behind it. And I want to say that there's a lot of science available, and this needs to be taken into account and analyzed and used more than is done today in developing learning technology. So here's an illustration how the current personalized learning basically is happening most of the time, with some exceptions, but basically it's individual. And how we want the learning to be is more collaborative. So I would go a mile and say that the current classrooms are not one size fits all, even without this personalized learning technology. The current classrooms are already personalized. So the current modern classrooms. Here you can see pictures from a second grade studying together. There's teaching assistants in the classroom. The children are doing their own things. They're in small groups. They're discussing. They're sharing knowledge. They're sharing what they do. They're very creative. And the learning is always activating their brain. It's always never giving them direct answers. And they're most of the time actively constructing new ideas for themselves. And we should look further than knowledge in the sense of personalization. Personalization is also when the child comes with their own personal problem, they have lost something. Personalization is when some students need to develop their hand muscles to write better with the pen, and all of those things can be seen by the teacher. The question is how much can the AI or technology do it. So I would say that personalized learning in general, I would like to change the narrative from technology is cognitive activation of each brain. It's letting each children to have their own creativity, their own freedom to express themselves, come up with their own shows in the class when the teacher allows it, and constructing knowledge for themselves. And it doesn't have to be AI-driven. For example, in this classroom observations that I did, a child wanted to play her piano. Nobody asked her, but she wanted to do it, and so she had like 3 minutes to play her. Very personal and meaningful for the kids. And it is a question whether personalization can even be done with AI. What is all this data that needs to be gathered? And maybe only a human who looks into the eye of the child can understand that child. So to sum, I would say that personalized learning systems are really good for knowledge construction, we should develop them. We need to really investigate how to do it properly with the proper pedagogy. It's really good for self-testing, giving feedback to the student, and we need those analytical dashboards. They're very, very important. But they're not really suitable for many goals of modern education. The goals, the kind of things that we want each child to develop that makes us human, collaborative skills, everything that's outside digital thing, everything that cannot be measured or that's out of the screen. And if you go to a classroom, then that's like 90% of what is being developed there. So, yeah, one slight comment is also that I think that public sector should not leave everything to the private sector because the private sector just doesn't have funds to do this research, to apply the research. There's not enough money for companies to get from the, especially in Estonia, from schools. Estonia is just too small market, and we need to take Estonian education into our own hands and invest on the public with public money into research. And yeah, this is not socialism as often heard. This is normal way how society should work. And yeah, we need meaningful data, qualitative data, and yeah, evaluate real classroom settings. So I think I'm out of time, right? Or I still have.
And finish, that's great. Say one sentence.
One sentence is that this is the current moment in education. I won't go deep into that, but of course this means ChatGPT, and it brings really, it can solve all of those PISA tests elegantly. All of those applications are available. It is a revolution, and we need to come back to the existential questions. What is learning? How do we detect it? What do we want to teach? And what kind of human skills are needed? So prepare for an AI that solves everything and is disrupting already, but it will disrupt even more. And lastly, if you want to find out whether AI will help to achieve the goals of modern education, then come to the seminar. You can use the QR code to the course, or if you want to do collaboration, write to me, or you want to be supervised by me or Jaan. And thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a question.
Thank you for your presentation. I wanted to ask, how do you define AI? Because like right now, you talked a lot about sitting behind the screen and AI not understanding a child's emotions. What happens in 10 years? Maybe we will have just some system that listens to you, sees what you do, talks back to you. So kind of, you know, this kind of assistance in addition to the teacher in the classroom, would it then be okay?
Yeah, that's amazing. If we have it, why not? And the just goal, the question is then, what is the goal of it? How do we use it? And if it somehow supports what we want to do, then amazing. Teachers don't have much time anyways. But it's a bit annoying that we call everything AI. It's there's different machine learning technologies, and in terms of personalized learning, we talk about predicting the learning path mostly and analyzing the current state of knowledge. And it's basically doing what YouTube algorithm is doing. But there's like tons of different AIs for so many other things and or machine learning models. So yeah, those public talks are about AI, but in general, it's a bit annoying.
Thanks. There's a question back there.
Thank you. When we are mentioning the lifelong education and we try to look at child's education in a comprehensive, holistic manner, I've heard words student, school, teachers. Where are parents in that big scheme of things? Thank you.
Parents are in the triangle, as one teacher really beautifully said in one of the interviews. There's the teacher, there's the student, and there's the parents. And the teacher tries to create this triangle where they all hold a rope or a rope in their hands. Actually, they do it physically in the first time, and they try not to destroy this mutual triangle of relationship. So it is definitely one of the big parts of the system.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Peep, do you want to debate?
I would actually elaborate further the question, but the first person had. So if you could actually go to a slide where you had the criticism on limitations of personalized learning. So
which of those all? This one?
Let me see. No, I think it was prior to it.
Okay. I don't know. It's there's many. This is like the good one.
Okay, you just scroll back. So you had the listing where you actually outlined that.
This one or?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
Good.
So I think a couple of limitations what you are stating under not suitable, they are limitations of physical devices, not let's say a system from learning perspective. So for instance, hands-on or physical EDC skills. I mean, if you're using today's phones and computers for learning, then of course there are limitations, but I mean, the devices doesn't need to be in such a way.
The question is, the question comes back to, yeah, ultimately we could measure everything, but do we really want to? Like, where's the human aspect? And my whole point is that like this kind of knowledge graph, how much you know it's very important, but it's like, it's a small marginal part of today's school, and it needs to be there. It's helpful, but it's not all the learning. So yeah, if you go skiing outside, do we need to, measure how our legs move or something? Maybe we do, but does it really help us?
It's very good that you have these kinds of debates, and we can continue them during the break. Let's first thank Julius. Thank you, Julius. And then, yes, indeed, we're almost in time, so we will start 5:45. Okay, but now have fun, have a break. Welcome back, welcome back. Still alive, everyone? Is the microphone now? No, it's on. How are you? Should we resume? We do one session and then we get to wine, okay? So, as you saw in the first session, we already discussed this so what is really the effect of AI on education? And the last talk by Julius, it went already in the direction of, okay, what kind of skills do we actually need? So if we leave AI and big data on the side for a moment, what kind of skills we need? And now the next speaker will tell us more about it. And the next speaker is Professor Margus Pedaste. He's the Professor of Educational Technology from University of Tartu. Thank you very much, Margus, for being here. The floor is all yours.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Jaan. And before I start speaking, educators usually ask the learners to speak, or the others, the audience to speak. So I have a question to you. Who you are?
I'm a student.
Student, thank you. Who else do we have here? Engineer. Student of the University of Tartu, perfect. Teacher. How many teachers we have here? Okay, thanks. University teacher is also a teacher, of course. And somebody says that we all are teachers. We teach ourselves by learning from our own experience, but we also teach others. Even if we are not teaching intentionally, we actually, with our activities, we teach others to do something differently or to cope ourselves. And how many students we have here? Okay, more than half of the audience is students. Perfect. So why did you come here? Sorry? Wine, yeah. Okay, wine is coming, as I heard. So, but was it your own decision to come here? Please raise your hand if it was your own decision. Really? Your own decision? Okay, almost everyone. Did you have any alternatives to consider today? Okay, yeah. And why did you choose this one out of those alternatives? Closer, yeah. It was the easiest option, yeah. Okay, thanks. Okay, to the presentation. I know nothing about AI. That's why I put it in the title. And then you can answer all my questions I have about AI. Because my background is first in biology. I have been a biology teacher for a long time at general education in schools in Estonia. And at the same time, I started to teach teachers. And I started to use technology in education. And then I started to study this. And then I met different people who taught me different things. And now I just share you some ideas, what I have heard from our discussions. And two of the main concepts I picked for this presentation are agency and self-regulated learning. And Julius is lost somewhere back there. Julius already mentioned both of those terms. Also, Kairit mentioned agency at least. I don't remember if you called self-regulated learning, but that's it. So, what is agency according to our understanding? Now I'm an educational scientist, so that how we do explain agency. Often we use that kind of definition that it refers to individuals. But sometimes it is also considered to be something collective. More and more we discuss about collective agency, what kind of agency we have. Not I have, but we have. And we together means that we can actually solve more complex problems, like climate change related issues, teachers shortage related issues, or knowledge about space that is needed in order to survive on Earth. Whatever. This is our agency to build. And often agency is compared to that kind of term like identity. If we talk about the identity, then we talk about who we are. In case of agency, we talk more about what we can do or what we do. How we participate actively in shaping our realities. And this is actually an important condition for learning and successful functioning. In our research, we have developed further one framework of describing what agency is or how it is formed. And we have used it in the context of teachers, how teachers' agency is formed, but actually it might be used in whatever field of studies. We could talk about professional agency. And in this case, it is important to mention that you should have some kind of alternatives for decision making. For example, if you had today alternatives to choose from for this evening, then you had some agency. You had the possibility to make a decision. Often, it might be that in the learning process or in general in our life, we do not have alternatives. Everything is predetermined. And if something is predetermined, then we do not have any agency. But if we have the possibility to make some decisions, then we are talking about formation of agency. And in our case, we are focusing on ecological model of agency. We're departing from that describes like 3 different areas that should be taken into account in forming agency. And why it is important, I think that you as experts, compared to me, in using AI, could fill in the gaps with the ideas how AI could actually support human agency or distract it. The first part on the left side is iterational. This is from our past. We have kind of a package of knowledge, beliefs, and values. There is also personal and professional part of this, so that in our profession we need some kind of knowledge, beliefs, and values, and we have learned it in practice or in formal education. And this forms together our professional competence. We have something, we have competencies. And based on those competencies, we can actually develop different alternatives. If we know something, if we know more, then we might have more alternatives to choose from. On the other side, there is this projective dimension of agency. It is about the future. In the future, we would like to go somewhere. Like on one of the slides of Julius, there was A and B for personalized learning. Now, often we see that personalized learning is something individualistic, individual approach, and we would like to have collaborative learning process where we really benefit not only from computers, but also from other people, so that they are connected into one ecosystem where they can support each other's learning process. So that my dream is that in the future, we are not learning for ourselves, but we are all teachers of others. So that we always consider how I can be helpful for others, how I can help other people to learn, to achieve their personal goals or our shared goals. And in this case, we are talking about projective dimension where we have some kind of purpose in long term or short term. And in long term, we can also think about that kind of life goals. Why I am here in this world? And there is the question, how I can be useful for the world, not other way around, how the world could be useful for me. So, in this case, we are talking about the past. So, Kairit, I cannot learn it as you. So, no, I will go back again. So, we have past, some competence, we have the goals in the future, the projective dimension, and then we have the present. This situation where we are, a practical situation where we can evaluate what kind of information we have in this situation, and based on that, we can actually build different alternatives and make decisions. So, and again, this decision-making process depends not only on the competence we have, but also on the goals we have in mind. And then we have a lot of environmental conditions that either enable to develop different alternatives or choose between different alternatives, or are as constraints in this particular situation. We have some cultural conditions that are important in this case. I often compare in this case, I often mention in this case two very common cultural characteristics. In our case, we are talking about collaborative culture and competitive culture. Often in Estonian society, the culture is very competitive. And one evidence of that is that we often make different lists of people who is better than the other one. During the admission to the university, in the graduation of the university, in schools, everybody has to get some grades. Nobody has to learn, probably. So sometimes maybe grades reflect learning outcomes as well, but not usually. They more or less reflect on how people know how to play with the system. And if the system is very simple, then it's easy to play the game. Okay. There are also some structural conditions that enable or hinder learning. And it's the rules we agree on. Now, sometimes timelines, sometimes some laws. So we were talking to the break with Peep that why do we need breaks like we had between those two sessions today? Or why do we need holidays? Because we could work much more without holidays. And again, this is a law to have a break, holiday time during every year that should support somehow us. Okay, and I would move on. And now the second concept we have, self-regulated learning. In our research, it is considered as a conceptual framework to understand different aspects of learning. Systematic approach. I didn't tell you that in biology my focus was in systematics. So I tried to reuse this approach in education as well. And in case of self-regulated learning, usually there are differentiated cognitive, motivational, and emotional aspects of learning. And it's a good time to ask, what kind of emotions do you feel right now?
We don't feel.
Mm-hmm. Because emotions was more or less something that I missed in the former part of the discussions. And do we have to learn emotions? Why? To be human. Okay. So I will go on. In case of the self-regulation, we often frame it so that we can regulate different areas of the learning process and different phases of the learning process. So that before we start learning, we have to prepare something. Then we have the so-called performance phase where we learn something. And then we look back. We reflect on something that's sometimes called as an appraisal phase. In a systematic literature review of Ernesto Banadero from Spain. And the areas, cognition, how we think, metacognition, how we regulate thinking processes, thinking learning processes. But often we do not pay so much attention on motivation and emotion in the learning process. And if we are not motivated or we are not emotionally activated in the learning process, then it might be that cognitive processes are not successful. That's why we actually have to consider our motivation and emotional condition in the learning process as well. And that means that before we start learning, we have to realize what is our motivation to learn and what kind of emotions do we have right now. And again, in the end of the learning process, we might find that we have some kind of emotions, maybe different ones than at the beginning of the process, or we have some kind of motivation not to learn anymore. That's always my challenge. What I have thought of is that you all know that how motivated students are when they enter the first grade in the comprehensive school. And my challenge is to find how to make it so that they are as happy in starting all the study years. So something happens and we cannot regulate it. In one of our studies, we were looking how much we support different activities of self-regulated learning process. And we found that often, a bit as I already noticed in Kairit's presentation as well, that we often focus too much on cognitive and metacognitive processes. But we do not focus so much on motivational and emotional processes, especially at the beginning of the process. We do not prepare ourselves for the learning process. So that this is something where often AI is not capable for supporting us. We are humans. Have you seen that picture? I tried to understand yesterday evening what is AI. Of course, I failed. But I found that some librarians in Canada also tried to understand it. And I just share their understanding about this, so that they found that it's a family of different applications. And of course, then they tried to use something that was familiar for them, so that they took the family tree of Kardashians. And then they just replaced the names of the people with the applications of AI. But the idea behind of this is that actually often we might find that we have different applications that could be used for something good or bad, depending on the people. And then the question is, for me, if you look back at those topics here that were mentioned in on the previous slides about agency and self-regulated learning, then you can analyze how many applications we have developed. AI didn't develop those applications. We, humans, developed those applications. We have developed for supporting cognition, metacognition, mainly that, I would say. How many of those tools actually support motivation and emotions? Which ones? Do you pick one? All of them. How? Yeah. Somehow it depends on how we use those tools, but it's not so evident. So which ones of them support preparation, performance, or appraisal phases? No, mainly performance appraisal, sometimes preparation as well. Iteration, projective and practical evaluative phases. So, and then what I wanted to discuss, but maybe we have more time for that later during the break as well, especially wine got help here, is that what is the identity of the humankind and how AI and humans could coexist by empowering each other, and what is the meaningful and responsible use of our resources and ethical considerations in the context of AI use. And I ended up with a question that I asked from ChatGPT in this case. What is the difference of AI and humans? And I think that the answer is quite good in this sense that I find that I can agree with many of those ideas. I got 6 answers, basically, that we have different learning abilities, we have different limitations, we have different biases, so that we cannot replace one with the other one. But we also have something that AI is maybe not capable of, like adaptability and ethical considerations, so that we are the ones who have to use those tools in a meaningful way, and that's thanks to our different nature. We have consciousness, we have emotions, we have physical bodies. Let's use them. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Margus. Do we have any questions? Did you already see a hand? No. So I can also ask. It's a very important remark that, you know, when children go to school, they are so excited, they really want to learn, and then over time, over school years, they kind of lose it. So what happens and what can we do about it in Estonia?
Maybe the question should be reversed, that what is not happening there. So that I try to be a very pessimistic, positive and optimistic person. and that's why I always look in this way, so that something is not happening there. And probably it's learning that is not usually happening at school. And I just give you an example, and we also have representatives of different technologies developed in Estonia later on this stage, and like learning languages. I also studied 11 years one foreign language that I do not speak now. And I never learned English at school, but I can speak it now. A bit. You are the ones who can judge about that. So that, and why people should go somewhere that is a boring place, where they cannot learn, because learning is something that is human. We would like to learn, and if you have to do something at school or somewhere else that is not learning, then it's boring. So that we have to somehow change what we are doing at school.
But how? Tell me.
By thinking. We should start thinking. We should start thinking of how we can adapt to different humans. And this is the challenge that has been, we have had, if we talk about these intelligent tutoring systems, we have had them for decades. But they are not adaptive enough. Development of every intelligent tutoring system is a very specific work, and the output is with very limited possibilities to adapt the learning process, so that it's pointless.
Yeah. So we can do better. I'm very happy if there are no further questions. Then we can.
I'm not.
Okay. Are there any further questions? No. Go on.
Thank you. So you told about the adaptability to the system. Like in school, I'm at the 12th grade now, and one thing school has taught me is how to adapt for the system to get the best grades.
Cum laude, congratulations, sit down.
And I do believe that the grading system does not correspond with the cognitive ability of a student, but the ability to get all fives, the system that you develop, how to get to the teacher's heart and get that 5, can be projected to other life systems. And why there's a saying that people who have C's, like 3s, are entrepreneurs because they know how to get out of the situations. Do you think that the ability to adapt from the school system, the knowledge how to adapt, could be projected to other life systems?
Yes, short answer. A longer answer is that some 20 years ago we collaborated a bit with one mathematician. Estonians probably know him, He's still Professor Emeritus at Tallinn Technical University, now at age 94, still working there, Professor Leo Võhando. And with him we studied that kind of formula, like formula of richness, which describes how all the richness in the world is distributed. And this is very general formula that applies for all the different fields. And we also studied how it could be applied in education. And then we finally found that how restrictive education system is, because my background is biology. We studied the national results of the national biology exam, which is standardized for the scale from 0 to 100 points. And we found that actually some students should get up to 700 points. But we just restrict their learning process with this old-fashioned evaluation system.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope it was your free decision to be here. So yeah, when I wanted to put this presentation together, or this data science seminar, then I wanted to have 3 people from the industry, 3 people from academia. It went a bit differently, but now the final 2 talks are given by representatives of the industry side. And these are 2 people I have worked together with, and I'm super happy that you both are here. And I invited them because both of them from the next 2 presentations have really tried to use the technology we have to enhance learning and being human. So I hope you will enjoy these talks. And the first talk is given by Triin Kask, who is the CEO of Metatellus. Please, Triin, the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much. Okay, are you hearing me through the mic? Oh, yeah, I think you are. Oh, hello, John. Great to see you. Ciao. Anyway, so obviously you can already kind of perceive with your visuals that my slide deck is a bit off regarding the academic interface, what you're used to. So I invite you kindly to adapt to this industry inside created or the interface created by the startup industry. So I hope that at least, you know, next to these like great slides, you also follow or come together with me through the thinking and the logic that we have put behind our dear Souli. So yes, the company name, like the legal name is Metatellus, but actually I feel myself as part of Souli, which mission is to create social media that is good for our brains. And I think that it's like no news to you that social media today, as it is not good for our brains. And that's why I'm here to tell you about how we, what kind of approach we are taking with our team to do it, or so that social media serves our brains well. Well, the elephant is actually big in the room, and well, there also you don't need any deep knowledge in order to understand why these algorithms on social media work exactly as they do. Why do we scroll? Why do we procrastinate? Why do we find ourselves 1 hour, 2 hours later, like, oh my God, where all this time went? It's because of the business model. And the industry in general is not interested to change the business model of ad-generated revenue, and it is their assignment to serve the VC industry, who is behind the basically creation of this engagement-based revenue stream. And the problem with current social media is that we don't know how the data is exactly used, how can we change it, why are we seeing what we're seeing. We can only guess, and sometimes it even feels that they listen to us, and then when we talk about, I don't know, washing machines or vibrators or whatnot, then the next moment we're gonna see the ads, even though maybe we're not, at least very often I feel that I don't want content around it. It was just a word. Come on, like, leave it. But this is already what they don't know. So they cannot adapt. Their algorithms cannot adapt to our human wishes. And of course, mindless scrolling is damaging our brains, and there is more to it. So it's behind the way how social media and all these algorithms are served to us is via infinite scroll. So the loop is never ending. You're taken into it and you can just infinitely continue. And who is the most worried about it is the one who actually created it. And it's the founder of the Humane Tech Center for Humane Technology, Azar Ruskin, who was the one who actually invented infinite scroll. And now he does his all to turn the industry the other way around and invite companies to follow the mission. And this is one thing what we decided to do, to implement humane design principles when we are building Soli. And so what does this do, actually, that 200 human lifetimes are wasted every day? So what does it mean? Well, social media app features encourage procrastination. And people very often, when they don't want to start writing their PhD, for example, they go to, I don't know, Instagram. Like, I'm about to start, I would just get this, you know, those, I know I get those nice dopamines, so I go there and just get the right kick in order to start writing this article finally. Like, this is exactly what I need. And it's very addictive, so we know all that. And of course, the mental issues, I'm not going into those, but the lack or decrease in keeping focus, and also there's a lot of science done or research done about teenage girls, how seeing those nice other girls on Instagram, for example, presenting their lives behind the filter, how it actually increases depression, and some even end up suicidal. And what was really disturbing from my point of view, or is disturbing, is that the latest research, I believe it was done in September, or they came out with the research results, and it doesn't only apply to Americans, it's a global trend, at least in the Western economy, that youngsters consider becoming an influencer as a career choice. And we're talking about going to Mars, and I don't know, conquering the Galactica and whatnot. And then when we think about the generations to come, I don't see anyone who actually is in this majority that they should be, where they should be, in order to take us forward to this intergalactic nation. I don't even know, like, do we actually want it? But that's another story. And because all of those disturbing outcomes of the way how social media works, there is a huge overall economic loss due to loss of productivity and creativity and whatnot that are doomed because of infinite scroll and mindlessly scrolling connected to it. Okay, so what to do about it? We were those who, within our team, we were thinking, okay, we are the ones who are every now and then finding ourselves mindlessly scrolling. So it's our problem, and we have to figure out how to get out of it. And there has to be a better way. So we decided that let's create this anti-mindless scrolling movement. And let's start, you know, with the first bits, what we could just make happen. Let's try to figure out how we can influence the algorithm part. And so we were thinking, like, okay, let's first figure out how many people actually have this problem. So we are the ones who have mindless scrolling problems. So does other people also have? And then we understood when we run a very, like we just did a landing page, no app yet or no algorithms yet developed. We just launched this landing page and a little Instagram campaign to those who are mindlessly scrolling. And we started to see with, I don't know, €7 that a lot of people came to our landing page. Every third person who was there was signing up to the wait list. And then they joined our Slack channel where they were outcrying like, oh my God, I spent yesterday 6 hours mindlessly scrolling. I don't know how I'm going to graduate my medicine school. And there were a lot of people with this sort of outcry. So we understood that it's not just our problem. It's like in general, people are really messed up and they don't know how to quit, and the solutions in this sense are not working. So we decided to start a little experiment together with also with the scientist, Professor Tõnis Kotkov from Helsinki University. We got a grant, yes, brought some governmental money to our industry, which is good. You know, no VCs pushing us to go towards engagement, so we're free in this sense. And we wanted to understand, like, what kind of goals actually people want to achieve when they search for content. So we built this very simple experimental app, and we had like 700 people who were in 1 month experimenting with this app. So first they had to pick a goal, and then they had to give the filter to the algorithm. It's a sentiment filter, basically. What is the mood of the content they want to receive? What's the focus level? And what is hidden is factful, not factfulness, but how oriented towards hard facts should it be? Should it be like light or fact-oriented? And then they chose topics they are interested in, and it was just, you know, this sort of like feed that brought articles from sources that we had pre-selected. And what was interesting, what we found out regarding the goal setting, we learned later that when we were asking about their feedback to this experiment and also their experience with this app, so how did they feel about it? And we found that when people chose a goal, so they also had a chance not to choose a goal. So those people who actually chose a goal for their session had a higher satisfaction with their overall content consumption. So when people were setting that, even if they didn't achieve this goal. So for example, they set themselves a goal that I want to learn new things, and they were reading stuff in this hub, and then later maybe they said like, no, did you achieve or did you learn new things? They said no, for example. Their overall satisfaction was bigger, and they appreciated that someone asked, that someone was actually interested what they want to do. So that we didn't expect this kind of finding. It was actually not how in our hypothesis cluster at all. We were actually interested in serendipity. Can we produce serendipity, aha moments via contents that they were not predicting at all? Like, for example, if they're interested in topics like science and we are bringing them some humor from nature, how does it influence their perceived satisfaction or their satisfaction with the content that we're bringing? Like, does serendipity enlighten them and also create more creativity? So we found that actually there is something with this goal setting. And in general, we understood that we are onto something. People really appreciated that they could choose themselves or determine how the algorithm works, or they felt some sort of power over the content what they were seeing. Of course, the second question is like how good our algorithm was. You know, it's like from gold start, it's never good enough. And of course, there were a lot of complaints like, it's not accurate enough. But then we figure out that we can even improve it, not giving them specific topics, but actually let them say what kind of content or what kind of keywords they would like to have content about. So it's giving even more control and more freedom to people. And now, of course, usually people say, like, people are lazy, they don't want to do this, and they want to you to tell them, like, hey, take this and take this. It's not true. It's not true. based on the feedback what we've got from those people who are now on this application, what we have now, they are much more determined to use it and really focus on reading part, because reading is these days it's not so easy for people to concentrate on one text for 5 minutes. It's pretty hard when you're quick newsfeed addict. Okay, and I hope that I can. Okay. I don't have my watch. Oh my God! What will happen to me now? Oh, yeah. And my time is, I have 12 minutes. Oh, good. This is correct. No, I have plenty to say. You already want me to kick me out of this. No. Okay. So what we want to do differently is we really want to focus on the user autonomy and valuable content, like giving them the power and then bringing people the content that would enhance their knowledge. And it's not about maximizing engagement. We're not about that at all. We're building our notification system that is saying like, hey, go out for a walk, not, hey, you have a new follower. So these tricks are used in order to get us back to the application. It's not actually healthy. And so users can create their own algorithms and have full control over their feed. Engagement incentive is long-term knowledge enhancement. That's the main thing, not short-term content consumption. And we are, according to the humane tech principles or humane design principles, we are building built-in stop moments. We don't let people to infinitely scroll. They have to, there is pagination, what we're implementing. They can only see 15 pieces at a time and can refresh the feed only 3 times, so we're not allowing them to do it. And we will tell them also where they should actually leave the application. Like when they're already there too long, then we are kindly suggesting them to go out for a walk or something. Okay, so I'm just running you through what we currently have as our beta version. We're about to come out live next month, early next month. And currently we have around 8,000 people using the application. So this is solely. You can dance along. Oh, thanks. I wasn't expecting that. I was like, no, this is bullshit. Boo. So I really appreciate the applause. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, because it's a hard mission. It's not a piece of cake. And now, when we look forward, what we really want to add to Solly is a personal knowledge map. And I know that there are several research groups who are actually trying to solve it, and we are very seriously on it. So again, applying for a grant, and Jaan has also agreed to lead our science team in order to work out a proper knowledge map that will understand what the person knows already regarding a topic, and then could bring those pieces that would add on to what they already know. So there is going to be a knowledge map that can be shared, for example, or if you want to learn from others, you can also share your knowledge map to others. So kind of the big picture is, it goes very far, it takes time, but we're very excited about it, to have this covered, because that would also, I think that it would disrupt also the learning mechanisms a lot when what you're consuming is not just something, but you, like how many times you see the same cat video, damn it, like bring me something, bring me squirrels, or I don't know, weasels. I don't know about them yet, but anyway, it's more to that, of course. So if you're already an expert on deep dark matter or I don't know, learning, knowledge sharing, then we really wish to give you information that would add to your knowledge map. And this is our vision. So what we actually want to happen in long term, we really want to change the paradigm of how the business model currently works in the big industry of social media, social networks, wherever they are basically using ad-based revenue, everywhere they are using your data and put it into the algorithms in order to keep you there where you are. So that's for fact. But we would really like to achieve a position in the future where people have, and where they can even own their own personal algorithms, and they can apply it everywhere. So is it via an API or whatnot? You know, it's just what we know today, what can be used. But I think it would be like kick-ass if we could like push, you know, Meta and Google and all those who are not interested in changing this, if we can push them into a corner and they are opening their API gates and we can let people in and apply their algorithms there. And of course, I hope that by that time, social media has become better because what we do. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Triin. And I'm sure that it was nice that there was an applause, but I'm sure there are some critical questions also, maybe there from behind. There.
Yes, I like critique.
Thank you very much for this interesting talk.
I think the mic is not on.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just have to speak louder. A couple of questions. How is it financed? Well, I understand at the moment you have a grant, but after that, then who creates the content and who chooses which content is good or isn't so good, so you won't put it on the platform? So money, who creates it and who chooses it?
Money-wise, we're currently supported by angel investors, so not VC money, because you need self-financing also when you apply to grants. And then we're after a bigger grant at the moment, which also needs self-financing. So also our current investors who are on board and who are fortunately not pushing us towards increasing or maximizing engagement. They are very much aligned with the mission. So this is what we just decided actually I was raising money this November actually, Christmas came, and then, you know, venture capitalists go to vacations, and we're now skiing and, you know, drinking mojitos somewhere on the mountains. And we decided that, hey, let's try to do it without VC money, and let's just see if we can make it happen. Because once the VC money is on, it's very hard to find venture capitalists who are into this sort of mission. They are still they don't believe it. They want to keep the status quo because it's just maximizing the value of the companies, and they're used to it. So that's what we try to do currently. Of course, I can't say like can we make it scalable and huge enough with grants and angel investors money. We are trying to generate our own revenue from day one. So when we launch, it will be a paid package. It's not going to be a freemium, never gonna see any ads solution. It's definitely going to be packaged as a paid movement, so to speak. So there is going to be an app, also knowledge enhancement via newsletters and webinars. So all this will be in order to give relevant information and new knowledge. Then your second question was about first was sources and second was content. Who creates the content? So those two questions I can answer in one sentence or one reply. So far, we have been the ones who have decided which kind of sources we're scraping. So we're scraping all those sources out there that, in our opinion, are not behind paywall, and unfortunately, they do have ads, but we are eliminating them with reader view. So when you choose reader view as an interface, then you're not seeing the ads. And we are still, of course, it's a huge challenge how to find good sources and who should say that this is a good source. We definitely have to figure it out in one point. So far, we have just gone with our common sense that, hey, this is not a good one, let's not take this, this is a good one, and trying to build this diverse pool of different sources that match to those topics that we have chosen. So it's all done manually so far. But that's, usually how it works in the industry. You start off with something, but as we don't have a push by VCs, then we can, in one point, correct it and don't need to stay true to the way how the status quo is, like content no matter what. And of course, we are thinking that we would like to get people also post content, relevant knowledge, including content on the platform. But we haven't figured out how to do it meaningfully so that there are not going to be propagandists, trolls, whatnot, robots. So that's a huge task. So as far when we haven't figured out it yet, we are not going to let people post their own stuff. However, do allow them to share within the app what they are already learning about within the app, but not yet getting outside information in. Yeah, but there was another person. Yep.
Yeah, I'll also go for two questions. So the first one is
one. Again, sorry, man. One. Nice one.
In terms of, so a lot of people who are really like the productivity hacks, right? So they instill on their browsers or whatnot, right? The best that you can't connect to internet and whatnot, right? Basically admitting that we are weak and we need to put on those guardrails, right? Have you considered approaching Apple or Android, right? Because that is the cause. If you would be able to put limitations on the device itself, right? Because my concern here is that this is amazing, but if there's still going to be apps that are really addictive, like Instagram or whatnot, right? That they will still have that habit, that they will gravitate towards that, right? And the second part of the first question is what are you going to optimize against in terms of how you're going to balance that, dopamine versus effectively using your time on learning?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the first one is that this is not, we are not going to, we are too small at the moment in order to convince those big players to change something. We don't have that leverage yet, but what we really want to do is give people the opportunity to turn their mindless scrolling, consequences, to turn them around on our app. So for example, we are now working on establishing this focus time mentality that people first choose how much they want to focus on the app. Is it 5 minutes? Is it 15? Is it 30 or more? Did you know that Warren Buffett reads 45 minutes every day, or Bill Gates 60 at least? So anyway, in order to, reverse the damage that is done by quick dopamine rush, by those infinite scrolling feeds, people have to focus, or they have to redo or undo the damage. So we provide that, like come to Soli and undo the damage that you made on Instagram. I am using myself OneSec app, for example, that doesn't let me in. It puts me to, I have to breathe. I definitely recommend. My time on Instagram, for example, has diminished notably thanks to OneSec Instagram. it asks me something like 10 grand per year, and I'm more than happy to pay that. It just shows up when I try to open Instagram, and it's just immensely helpful. But still, I find my ways how to get there. Sometimes I am willing to take this breathing time, and I go there and I scroll. And I would like really solely tell me like, hey, Triin, how much do you want to focus? And I will acknowledge you for that, and I will applaud to you when you have been here reading something consistently, 15 minutes, for example, because this is good for your brain. And now Jaan already says I can't answer your second question.
Yeah, and I'm saying that you build solely for yourself also, which is great.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. Like we are every day asking, like, oh, we have to be the the perfect customer, and we have to have the willingness to pay, so that we don't see ads on our own application.
Here's your pay.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys, how are you holding up? We have the last speaker. Last but not least, we have Kadri Tuisk, who is the CEO of Clanbeat and also Sage. Well, we are setting up technology here, which takes time, but the rule is simple. Wine is not served before Kadri answers the last question, okay? So that you know, okay? Kadri, great to have you.
Hi, thank you. So I'm the one holding you back from the wine, so I'm getting a lot of attention. Thank you. I'm going to be talking about adult learning because the previous sessions before Triin were talking about a lot how human is learning and how we are focusing on children's evolution and self-directed learning and internal agency. But if we are moving towards the adults and how they operate, then they haven't had these supportive mechanisms, what we have been talking about the whole day today. And right now we are facing a generation who is still figuring out what this thing life is. And it's so hard because if we're thinking about that, we have been dreaming about, would we have all of the access to all of the information, we would make so smart decisions. We have access to all of the information. Would we have something which would analyze all of this information for us, then we would make so much better decisions. Yet here we are. And we still need to make human decisions and move forward in our lives. And if you think about how innovation is created, how change is created, then this is created when you're able to make fast decisions and iterate and learn, iterate and learn. And Triin was telling about very important thing. Humans are prone to procrastinate. They are prone to get their mind wander. And if you have the nation which we have right now, where is this overflow of information and lack of wisdom, then it's sometimes pretty hard to live in this world and function as a professional as well. And that's why we created Sage OS. And we are focusing on workplaces and upskilling human leadership skills. When you would be in a situation that you're overwhelmed of life, you're overwhelmed of your work, you might be slightly undermotivated, you would not know what decisions to make, how to collaborate, or even thinking, what's the purpose of my life daily? There are some people who do that, considering myself. So we have created solution as well for myself, for everybody else. And I would love to walk you through what's the work behind. We have been doing it for a year, and we have created 15-minute hyper-personalized AI-enhanced micro-coaching check-ins, which is a very complicated sentence, but the main idea behind it is to solve the most pressing challenges for team leads in companies, and we have co-created it together with companies who are in constant flux, constant change management, and having this situation where you actually don't know what next weeks might bring, and you are in a constant pressure to develop some results. And if you think about how human learning and development is created, you need to create space for this. And if you're thinking about, there is a myriad of YouTube videos. If they don't land on fertile ground and you don't take time for it, growth does not happen. So you have to take time for it. And that's why we research what is the daily lives of professionals and how to really fit this learning into their lives. So there is no point of generating more videos, generating more PDFs, PowerPoint presentations. You have to think how people internalize those things and move on, and how this is happening on a time where they need it the most. So just-in-time learning for leadership. And for that, we created a process where we are every week having a leader, team lead, in a session with a real-life coach, and they are taking time for really solving the challenge which they are facing currently. And before they are going into the coaching sessions, we are mapping out their wheel of life, how they're doing in life. We are mapping out the leadership competencies. We are experimenting right now with different sets of data, let's say 360 reviews and etc., to really understand the human and their needs as much as we can based on data. And then they're going into the coaching sessions. And as they are happening periodically, this gives the possibility for a human to have this kind of micro-learning environment where they can really have a focus and not lose attention. And based on this regularity, we are actually able to build up also continuous learning process. But as I said, we have human coaches working with real humans. I hope you're okay. Real human coaches, but what we do is that those coaching sessions are happening online. They're happening on video call, and we are transcribing those video sessions. And out of these transcriptions, we are removing any private data for the human itself and the organizational data, and we are analyzing those. And I'm very thankful for Jaan Aru and Mikita, who is also in this room, for working together with us of how to analyze those coaching session transcripts in a way that we would get out the insights which are for humans transformational for creating change and growth. Because if you're thinking about how growth is generated and how coaching sessions are happening, people are walking out from the coaching sessions and they might have those aha moments which are happening in there as well. But human mind goes wandering and is working after those sessions as well, and how to facilitate this growth which is happening after those initial aha moments, and how to enhance this even 10 or 1,000 times better, even if you're having like mediocre coaches. I myself, I just graduated as an executive coach this year. I'm a pretty shitty coach in a way that like I just started. And I have a lot of potential as a coach, but you need to practice and you need to have a lot of experiences coming your way. But if people like me and people who are not that experienced yet in being a coach or who don't have the capabilities are supported by something which is helping to maximize their impact to their people they are supporting, in a way that if you think about also like teacher education, how do you maximize those people who are having great human skills, but maybe some things need more and more practice over time. So with this work which we have been doing, we are helping to unlock the blind spots of humans, which the coach and the person might themselves not see, but the data analysis is showing it. We are mapping them against human growth models and against traditional coaching models, which how the change is created in humans. And we are actually thinking about how the change is created in a way that if you're in a coaching session, then you have personal bias, emotional bias, But if totally neutral technology is analyzing and challenging you based on the coaching methods, which are universally proved already, then this doesn't have emotional bias, and humans are going a little bit easier into this growth process. And we are having a huge problem at the moment, because the work that Jaan and Mikita have been doing, we are running a science experiment based on those analyses which they have been doing and which we were using before, and our coaches are refusing to use those which we did before. So they are saying, like, we are so much better coaches because of that, and our clients are getting so much better value. And this is actually transformational, because right now we have large language processing models which are understanding the sentiments behind sentiments. We are having a lot of trouble at the moment because the large language models yet don't know how to say, I don't know. They always think that they know, and sometimes they're bullshitting. So right now, what we are working with is like how to make the analysis also say sometimes that they don't know the answer. So this is something we still have to solve, but we are working on it. And the future towards which we are moving is hyper-personalized learning and support based on the human needs, which are actually appearing on the go. They are solving those things which are actually challenging for them, and they have the internal motivation to move forward with those. So we really believe in the learning based on the intrinsic motivation, and on those coaching sessions we are actually getting this intrinsic motivation out, and this is where the impact for the growth potential is the highest. But we don't stop there. So how we are creating actually organizational change is let's say we are having a big bank where we are having one department, let's say retail banking. There is one leader of leader, and there is 15 team leads who are leading their own areas. So all of those leaders are having SAGE coaching and having their own transcripts analyzed for their personal growth. And but if we are having a cohort of leaders from one organization, we are able to actually analyze the cohort data, taking out the personal sentiment, and we can do it only after some certain amount of people are in the group to keep the privacy of humans, but really to have this underlying insights coming out from the cohort. For example, if we are taking our whole cohort data, then all of our sessions are able to understand what are those emotions behind humans' sessions. Obviously, people are coming to coaching sessions with frustration. But for example, here we are having one organization whose cohort data compared to the overall cohort data in Sage OS showed much more comfort and much less frustration. And if you're showing it to the leader, then the leader is thinking, I'm not pushing my people enough. People are too comfortable. This is not what we want them to do, but we are able to visualize health, emotional health of organizations based on those things which they are bringing to the cohort. We are helping to see into the general challenges of the cohort. If you're thinking about, this is one example of one organization, and what is the most amazing thing is that this is totally organic. This is not something data set that we have predefined, where we are actually asking them to see something. This is something which is organic and very different for every organization. For example, here we are having an organization where our challenges that they are lacking leadership trust, and people are actually not collaborating. And we are able to understand what are those challenges and go deeper and deeper into each dot to really understand what is behind this leadership trust. Is somebody withholding communication? Is there a lack in vision or mission? And trying to really show to the the correlation between challenges and what people are actually doing. So in this organization, we actually saw that 65 of people are sitting it out, basically. They are waiting for some change to happen, and they are not taking meaningful action, and they are just thinking, let's see what happens. But if you're having an organization where people are sitting it out and not taking meaningful action towards company goals or their personal goals, then this is not a really good place to work. If you think about human evolution. And if you're visualizing this kind of data, this helps a lot for the storytelling and really understanding what is going on in the workplace. And for example, another topic here is this particular organization is struggling with goals and expectation setting, and the people are really striving for validation. And you can see that they are yearning for it. And if we are showing it to the HR or the leader of leader, we are asking, what can you do about it? If the people are striving for validation and they are lacking autonomy and thinking about what are those things which are challenging to them. And as I said, if the organization is interested, we are able to go deeper into each dot and to really understand what is behind it and to really help them to make the change happen. And we have moved on from really understanding what are the main challenges, what are those main actions which people are taking already in the companies, and helping to bring the change. Based on this data, we are also able to visualize how those things which they are taking to the focus are moving over time and how they are placing in interventions and support for growth on those topics, and how this is creating the dynamics of organizational growth and people thriving in this environment. And then they can actually see what is the impact of those things which they are doing. And already foresee the future. Is this the future that we want for our organization? And to take action before those things are happening. But as we were speaking before, it's super hard to create the organizational change and to really make those leaders of leaders take charge. And we have been, when we started with doing cohort analysis and working with the management level, and to support thriving organizations which are supporting growth of humans, we had a lot of struggles. And the main struggle is if you're sending this information out in a PDF, or if you're doing a presentation and then leaving the house, it might fall flat, or who is bringing this change forward? And if you're thinking about how people are internalizing this information they are getting, in some cases, it's like, I have not done my job right, I cannot take it to the next level, if you're thinking about how organizational culture is created. And if you're thinking about how to really create thriving organizations, then you have to create space for organizational growth as well, and for change management. And this is why, this is done by Dolly. I did not create it, it is not at our office. But you have to create space for growth and take time for it. And therefore, we are coaching leader of leaders and company leaders through the cohort data analysis in a way as well that every month or bi-monthly as they choose, we are having coaching sessions based on data insights and helping them to carve out those actions and leading those actions to change as well, and helping them to measure the impact as well and to see it. Because if you're thinking about how consultation companies are working, they are generating reports and sending it to somewhere and then creating PowerPoints. And this is not how organizational growth and change is made. And then this is how we have to see that there has to be a space and process for growth and to support humans who are bringing this thing forward. So we are taking humans as the change makers and allowing them also to internalize them. For example, when driving here, I was just listening to Jeff Bezos and Lex Friedman's podcast, And Jeff Bezos told that if they're having a meeting in Amazon, they are doing big memos before each meeting, and each meeting starts with everybody sitting in their 30 minutes and reading the memo together. So they are taking the time to go through this information and then have a discussion around it in a way that you cannot trust that if you're sending some email that everybody's going to read it and come with this preparation that is needed. So you have to create space for this. And I think if we are talking about data intelligence and smart data, it doesn't matter anything if you don't internalize and if you don't do anything with it. So none of it matters if you don't take action on it. So we really want to design experiences which are helping people to take action. Thank you. Wine. Questions, wine.
Thank you.
Oh, one more thing. We are releasing our coaching sessions analysis tool for general public as well. Not for the cohort analyze, but for if any of you is having a coaching session with your coach, then you're free to upload it. We're launching it in a few weeks' time, so feel free to play around. Or if any of you is having a company or organization or a team and don't have a coach yet, then go to sageos.ai and happy to equip you with our coaches and the cohort analysis. Yes, thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Quick question is like data-wise. I mean, what kind of data goes into there besides just the transcript? Is it are the coaches somehow trained to annotate what is happening in the real world? Do they have to do something differently than they would do otherwise? Like, for example, say out loud, "Oh, you look nervous right now. You're shaking. Your left hand is on the table," and then the AI can like analyze this.
Yeah, very good question. No, they don't have to do anything. Although all of our coaches are digital natives and are familiar with using technology, but the only thing which our coaches need to do is they need to press play, to start saving the data or the session, and then they need to upload it to our system, and it generates it automatically for them. So we analyze the audio, we analyze the transcript after that, and then based on that we are generating. At the moment it is PDF report which is sent to your email. But we want to get more creative than that and work together with Jaan and Mikita and think of what is the format of information and what is the amount of information as well, based on what you can actually create an aha moment or insight and to move forward, because you cannot overload people with stuff. And for coaches, it is just upload and click, and it's happening automatically.
Not three.
So typically coaching sessions are specifically about the person that's being coached, right? So how do you account for, deal with the fact that now the person will think that or know that information might be used on an organizational level, right? And that they might adjust what they're saying, knowing that will have an impact on them?
When onboarding new cohorts and team leads, we are actually showing them in what kind of format we are analyzing the data. And they are actually pretty empowered because they are getting a voice in a way that they don't have to say that I have a problem that my boss is an asshole or my colleague is stopping me from doing great work. And this is empowering to them because they can see that those things don't have their name on it. This is generalized data, as you saw, bringing out the themes and the challenges, and actually not only challenges, we are also showcasing those things which are working super well, so they can build on their strengths. So it is not only like things hitting the fan. It's also things which are working super well. You can so you can build on top of it. And we are also showing what the people are already doing in order to trying to solve their problems. So if you're trying to bring in some interventions for growth, for change, you can place them already in the places which people are doing, and this is very empowering to them. And I really believe that trust is created through knowledge, and if you show them how it is working, then this trust is built. Thank you.
Thank you, Kadri. It was really captivating to look at all the lines going in different directions, and I'm really curious to learn, or if you know of any cases in these organizations where this information, what you gathered throughout those coaching sessions, actually triggered some change on organizational level.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we have been doing the cohort analysis based on last year's August, September. So we don't have a very big history in doing those. But if you're thinking about our brightest clients, then one of our clients, very good example, is coming every month to take the cohort analyze coaching and to plan next interventions based with their team based on that. For example, they saw that that people are having really big burnout levels, so they brought in mental health support. Next month, they saw that people are struggling a lot with communicating up or communicating down. So if you see that people are struggling with communicating up and you're trying to understand what is happening, then you create the Ask Me Anything session or create this kind of open door policy. So you can actually design organizational culture based on this. And if, as this is happening weekly, and you can have very fast adaptive response to it. So it depends on the organization. Some are, unfortunately, I have also experience with an organization to whom we showed that 65% of your people are sitting it out. Let's figure out what to do. And as it turned out, the person to whom we were showing it was also one of those people sitting it out, and nothing happened. So we are still learning as well where to place and how to place the data and how to design this experience for growth, and who are those people who are actually bringing the change forward. But it is actually very fascinating to have this kind of cadence for iterating and growing. So super excited about it.
Thank you. I have a question. So this is very much consultancy-based business. I'm kind of wondering how scalable everything is, because you need these people who are doing the storytelling, interpretation. Is this a scalable business model in that sense?
Yes.
If it is, then I want to have this too long, don't read kind of short, long story short things from Triin's platform. Because this is what is spoiling the internet, that there is all these long introductions and maybe one sentence truth, but we don't ever get to that.
Yes.
I would like to read about it.
Yes, we have figured out the scalable model for the coaching part. So this actually is scalable. But for the Sage AI Insights, which I was talking about, which is like cohort data, right now we are doing a lot of monkey in a box work in a way that we are double checking the information gathered with AI, teaching our algorithms to be more smarter. So right now we are putting in a lot of human effort, and we are doing those sessions together with the leaders, human to human, in order to learn really to understand like how what is making them click and what is making them move, basically. So I'm doing those things which are not scalable at the moment within this higher section, but the lower section is scalable already. As I said, I'm releasing the tech part in 2 weeks' time for all of the coaches in the world to analyze their coaching sessions as well. And I'm pretty sure that with AI Insights part, pretty soon we are really able to understand which kind of parts of facilitating growth and change can be automized and can be taken out the human element. Right now we are super relational on the supporting the leader of leaders, yes, but I'm doing it because we are learning as humans as well.
We are all learning. We are all very happy that we learned from you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I hope you are all happy that you learned today from all these speakers. Thanks to all the speakers. You have thanked them already, but I would also like to thank the team who made this possible, who helped to do this. Thank you, guys. Let's have an applause for them. And then finally, you are great. I mean, already for almost 15 minutes, you could have had wine, but you sat here. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed this, then the next data science seminar will be on the 11th of March on trustworthy and responsible AI. Thank you very much. Let's have some wine.